Tony Squires, Nathan Hindmarsh, Wade Graham and Brent Read with you. Well, who wrote the Panthers off? You did.
I've written them off about 3 times in recent years, Tone. They keep winning premierships, so
it's quite amazing, isn't it? Because what was it? They'd had 1 win, 5 losses to start the season, and quite rightly, people thought, "Well, it's all over." And then even without their Origin players last week, they did that job against the Warriors, and in what undoubtedly is the game of the season so far, they beat the Bulldogs Thursday night 8-6. So, what did you make of that then?
Oh, I thought it was an unbelievable performance by them. I mean, they just played tough. They hung in there, defended really well, just did what they had to do. And I think, I've doubted whether look, they're not going to make the top 4. I think that. Yeah. I think we recognise that's probably beyond them. No one's won the comp from outside the top 4, but I think they'll finish outside the top 4. They'll make the top 8, and I think they're the most realistic chance we've seen in a long time to make a dent from outside the top 4, because they're going that good. And when they've got everyone right and everyone fit at that time of year, they know how to win footy games, right? So why are you laughing, Wade?
Well, I'm just saying, gee, you've changed your tune. You've written them up, and now they can win it from outside the top 4. You're unbelievable.
Well, I think they're the best chance we've seen in a while.
Yeah,
I still think it's going to be an incredible achievement if they do it, because it's so hard to do. But, I mean, they just keep defying.
But they've gone a long way around from in the top 4 before, haven't they?
Yeah, they lost the first game, and then they went on to win 3 in a row. But I agree with Reed. It was funny. So after Origin 1, when we flew home, we were on the same flight as the Blues, and I caught up with Liam Martin quickly. He was sitting in the gate waiting for the plane, and I asked him how he was going. Like, congratulations on Origin. I said, how are things at Penrith? And he looked at me and was like, it's a little bit frustrating that we're not at the level that we're at, but I think we'll be right. We're slowly starting to turn the corner, and it's starting to feel a bit more normal. And since then, it was a great game against Parramatta. They beat West Tigers. They had a bye. Fantastic performance without their Origin players against the Warriors, and then to beat the Bulldogs this weekend. It's a scary proposition, because if they do continue on this run, they need to keep winning. They can't afford to drop any more games, so they need to keep winning. That's a simple equation. But if they do and they keep winning, the more confidence they gain. The guys who were probably a little bit shaky at the start of the year, Blaze Talangi trying to settle in.
Casey McLean,
who was on the wing and had some issues on the wing, but now that he's in the centres,
that's the difference, I reckon, Wade. Those guys, Blaze Talangi's starting to play like the player they went out and got. Yeah. Casey McLean's starting to play like the player they thought he was going to be. Tom Jenkins has come from the clouds and been outstanding. But you always knew that Nathan and Isaiah, those guys would do what they do, but those young blokes have turned it on now.
And we've seen a lot of teams in the past go on a run late in the year and charge into the finals, right? And it's like, well, can the momentum keep going into the finals, and can you carry that all the way? And I suppose with teams who have done it in the past, they just haven't got the credentials that this Penrith Panthers team does. It's a big game experience, the confidence that in the moment, when you need to get it done, can you bring your best and can you get a result? And there's no question about this Penrith thing. They've won four premierships in a row. So if they stay on this winning trajectory and make the finals, boy, oh boy, I wouldn't want to be in a team coming up against them, because they know how to get it done at the right time of the year, and they'll have a lot of clubs looking over their shoulder, hoping that they falter, because if they don't, that they're going to be dangerous come September.
The thing I liked about the Panthers the other night was the fact they won, but they didn't win nicely. If that makes sense, they had to work hard for it. It was a scrappy game. It was a great traditional game of rugby league, but they never really got, for me watching it, they never really got set in what they wanted to do. So Cleary's charge down obviously was a match winner for them, but they didn't. I don't think they got set in the style of footy they wanted to play, and they still managed to win. Yeah, that's what I liked about the fact that they did, and the fact that also too there was times where you could see the Dogs were starting to get a little on top of them a little bit. The gaps were starting to open up. They were getting a bit tired, trying to tie in all the time. But they'd settle, and they'd come out the other side of that and regroup again.
They scrambled so well defensively too, didn't they?
That's what I like to see about them. They looked like they were down and out. They looked like they were gassed, but they found that second wind and managed to go on again.
It's funny, Heine, because we were just talking a little bit ago off air, and the score finished 8-6, right? So but it just goes to show that was one of the most entertaining games, certainly from my point of view, and absolutely. I think you all feel the same way. it just goes to show we don't need to.
You don't need big scores.
We don't need big scores. No. We don't need the special tries.
You've got two teams that are playing good footy, and they're going to be there at the end of the year. That's the style of footy I like to see.
100%.
And some of those try savers, Tracy, at the end of those games, the fact that we spoke about McLean, but the fact that if Crichton wasn't marking up against McLean, he would have scored another couple of tries, I believe. There was some great little battles out there between opposition. It wasn't like there was a yes, it's Dogs v Penrith battle, but in that game there was little battles going on everywhere.
Yeah, and the way that Nathan Cleary went to McLean afterwards because of the job he'd done on Stephen Crichton, you could tell they'd set up for that. It was terrific. You mentioned that and the intensity of the game, and Ivan Cleary spoke about it later.
It felt like a semi-final. The Dogs, to their credit, they've been the best team all year, and I thought they played pretty well, very well actually. So threw plenty at us.
There it was, brilliant. Now tell me this, what about Nathan Cleary? He was kicked long, unlike in the State of Origin, but not goal kicking. Where do you reckon he's at? There's any mention about that injury post-game?
Well, I mean, I wasn't at the game time, but I'm sure it got asked. But he obviously got through the game, came up with the match-winning play, and as you said, he kicked in general play. So I don't think there's any doubt over him for Origin. I think he'll be there for sure, and the only question is whether he kicks in Origin.
Yeah.
Given Zach had a tough night out in game two.
He did 99% of the kicking the other night. So and then he's done a little bit of play on Galvin there, left Galvin behind and all that sort of stuff. So he
doesn't look inhibited when he runs.
Well, I thought
with the ball.
I thought he kind of was looking for support real early on that one. I thought he might have pinned his ears a bit, but then I watched it back again and realised, well, hang on, no, everyone was covered, so he's just taking the tackle.
There was a moment in the first half where I think Jacob Carraz, he got an offload off a kick chase and someone made a break to go around him on the sideline, and Nathan was at full pelt there to make the cover tackle. And as soon as I watched that, I was like, he's okay. They're not putting him out there if he's a risk.
Yeah.
I think he's...
And he did all the kicking.
He's
too.
almost 100%.
Like
he's good to go.
Yeah.
He's good to go.
No dramas there.
Talking about kicking and goal kicking.
Look at Reedy, he's getting nervous.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm just thinking it won't matter anyway, boys. Don't worry.
The Bulldogs were 2 points.
50 penalties. You'll
Good
be right.
referee, Ashley Klein, best in the business.
Well, actually, speaking of that game, we have to give Grant Atkin a rap.
Oh, of course you do.
We do because
it flowed.
He stayed out of the game.
Yes.
And he let the teams go end to end and sort it out. And yes, if there was an obvious penalty, he blew it. If there was an obvious 6 again, he gave one away. But for the majority of that first half, he just let the players sort it out. And that's why it turned into that battle of attrition, the one-on-one tackles, end to end. Yeah, semi-final.
I saw that semi-final written there.
The doggies were 2 points down. What was it? A minute and a half, 2 minutes to play. They get a penalty close to the sideline, 30 metres out, and they don't take the kick at goal. Please explain.
Oh, listen, I don't mind that decision. Certainly, the best person to probably make that call is the captain on the field, Stephen Crichton. He has a sense of the flow of the game, where the energy's at. It was a difficult kick. There's no guarantees it goes over. Yep. There's no guarantee it goes dead. Even if it does go dead, we see teams now with a short dropout, they're a chance to get the ball back. And if he felt like they had momentum, they had an opportunity to possibly find a try, you have to back the guy on the field. And despite not going for the kick, there was an opportunity late in the game where there was a half opportunity for them to score. So it's easy to look back in hindsight and you should have did this, you should have done that. But you need to back your first instinct and back your player on the field. And Stephen Crichton, he's been certainly in big games and big moments before. And if he felt they had the ascendancy, well, he, in my opinion, knows best. And you got to back that decision. Sometimes you don't get them all right, but the majority of the time, I'd be giving my confidence behind him to make the decision again.
And Serrato pretty much backed that too, I think, in his press conference after. He said, well, we've got 2 left footers. It was on the wrong side. It was a fair way out on the sideline. So we went for the 4 points instead of the 2 points. And look, I reckon
it was madness.
To go for the try?
Yeah, I think you take the 2.
Yeah, I'm a little bit.
What would you have done?
I'm happy with either.
Both captains. Would you have taken the 2?
I looked straight at the bench and went, "What do we do here?" I never made one decision by myself.
When you were watching it, and I was watching, my first instinct was,
I said take for 2. I did the same thing. I was sitting there and going, "Oh, take the 2." And then they went, oh no, and then I kind of thought about it like after and went, it's a long way out. You've still got a couple of plays up your sleeve.
Yeah.
You know, so I was happy with either, to be honest with you, Reedy. Okay. And in the end, they were
sit in the fence.
They were a bee's dick away from scoring.
The goal kick went all wrong at the other end when Dylan Edwards kicked it into the post right at the death, which could have given them some.
Yeah.
So any of those things could happen. What about the rotation for the bench rotation with Lachlan Galvin being on the bench there for the Doggies? Is that working out? I mean, obviously it's a very small sample size.
Yeah, well, for me, it's not a perfect fit at the moment. They've got some tinkering to do to work out how to implement that the best way and to work out how to balance that, because I really don't think they gain all that much taking Read Mahoney off, putting Sexton the hooker and then getting Galvin into the game. And they probably lose a little bit at hooker because Sexton's not a natural hooker. But I understand, the need to make do with what player you sign. They've got an eye on the future.
Did you see in the game though? I'm thinking, well, yeah, has Galvin off the bench there? It didn't seem right. Unless I was thinking maybe they stick Burton in at 13 and then play him. But
it's not going to seem right for a while.
Yeah,
until they figure it out.
Sorry, what I see doesn't seem right is you're carrying him on the bench. That's what doesn't seem. That seems a bit weird. Why are you carrying a half on the bench?
And what the issue is, they had so much success without him.
True.
That they were on top of the table.
Yes,
without him, and then they've made this decision to bring him across with an eye to the future.
Yes. So can he be playing? Can he be playing reserve grade then? I know because he's joined them halfway through the year. There's Galvin, obviously. And if there's no room for him properly, because Sexton's still doing his job, Mahoney's still doing his job, Bailey's doing his job.
I'm not going to back against Cam Serrato and his plan and his vision, because we've seen in the past already, a couple of seasons ago, he signed 5 or 6 players, and everyone was up in arms about they're all utilities, where they're going to fit. Yep. There's no plan there. And obviously, Cam's had the last laugh because the improvement in that footy team has been tremendous. And I'm just thinking, at the moment, there might be a little bit of short-term pain in terms of the combination.
I don't think there's any pain, though. It just seems strange. Like they're not.
But don't you think, Hindy,
they're not gaining.
They've paid that money for him to start at some point this year. Just make the call and start him. You've obviously bought him with an idea in mind of where you're going to play him in the team. And I acknowledge that initially, you go slow with him because he's a new guy into a team that's winning and played really good football. But you've made a decision to go and get him. You've made that decision. In your mind, you must have known at some point you're going to start him, be it at halfback, somewhere in the team. Just make the decision. Pull the trigger.
But why? Why? They've got time.
Because at the moment, it's like they're treading water. They're treading waterway, though.
But they're top 2. They've got time on their side. There's no need to rock the boat. What happens if you...
But they've rocked the boat already, mate. The boat's rocking, baby.
Rock the boat, baby.
Okay, what happens if... All right, what happens if you drop Sexton and you start Galvin and Galvin goes out and gets injured, and then all of a sudden you've got to go,
you bring Sexton back in.
Yeah,
he's not the sort of guy I've seen, from my knowledge of watching Toby Sexton, he's not the sort of guy who's going to drop his head, from what I've seen of him.
All I'm going to say is, if you think you have a better plan than Cam Serrato, well then
I'm going to give you... I'm not saying that. I'm saying Cam Serrato had a plan.
I trust Serrato too.
I'm saying Cam Serrato's obviously had a plan, because why would you go and get a guy and pay him that amount of money?
Obviously, he wants to be patient. He wants to put the decision off and build him into it. But if you think different, Reedy, well, you go coach.
What do you think? You're just going to go with the flow?
No, I'm going to be patient because they're in a good position on the table. There's no need to rush. They're still winning games. They lost on the weekend.
Well, there is, because, every week we all talk about it and their fans talk about it and everyone talks about it. And every week you delay it, there's more pressure on that club. There's more pressure on Lachlan Galvin.
Do you think
there's more pressure on Toby Sexton? There's more pressure on Read Mahoney. Well, you don't think there is? You don't think everyone's talking about how they're handling Read Mahoney, what they're going to do with Toby Sexton?
I think that's different to having pressure. They're sitting, what are they? Top 2 on the comp.
Yeah. I don't think they really care what we say.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, let's not talk about it. Let's move on to something else, because no one cares.
Let's talk some television. But you're saying so that next year's plan should basically be activated.
But I don't think it was a plan for next year. You don't bring him in pre June 30, whatever. With an idea of where you're going to... Because you're buying him with an idea in mind.
I know what you're saying, Reed. I know exactly what you're saying. You've bought this young gun. You're expecting him to be playing...
Well, you bought him to
be
play.
Involved in the game, yes, which he is coming off the bench. What I'm saying is it's just a bit weird that they're starting him they're on the bench.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah.
But they got time to figure it out. They got time to figure out the best.
I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here, guys.
Ever the diplomat. I love it.